Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. You're finally planning that dream trip to Maui. You've got the flights, the hotel looks amazing, and then bam, you check car rental prices.
Oh, yeah. It hits you like a wall.
Exactly. It feels like this total mystery, like you need some kind of secret code just to figure out what's going on with the cost.
It really does.
Yeah.
And those prices, they can change so fast, it's like trying to predict the waves.
Yeah,
Makes it super frustrating to know if you're actually getting a decent deal.
totally. So that's our mission today on the deep dive. We're essentially trying to give you that secret decoder ring.
Uh-huh.
We're going deep into the constantly changing world of Maui car rentals. We're looking specifically at the latest info for August 2025.
And we've been digging through some really detailed stuff, market analysis, price tracking, historical data, all from a top Maui car rental blog.
Right. So the goal for you listening in is to pull out the key nuggets here.
Yeah, the important bits.
We want you to understand the current trends, maybe get a sense of what's coming next, and hopefully save you some actual money on that Maui rental.
Think of it like getting the inside scoop, a shortcut, so you're really clued in on this niche but pretty crucial travel detail.
Okay, so let's jump right into the big picture for August 2025. Because what we found is, well, it's pretty interesting. You might think prices would be high, maybe creeping up. But actually, for most rental cars on Maui, prices are generally dropping.
That's right. They're sort of settling into what the source calls the shoulder season range.
Shoulder season, okay.
Yeah, that time between the really busy peak season and the quiet off-peak usually means lower prices because demand is easing off a bit.
But here's the twist, right? There's this weird exception.
The big vehicles.
Minivans and those 7-seat SUVs, they're staying unusually expensive, even though fewer people are traveling overall now that the main summer rush is over. What's causing that?
So the source points right at a specific minivan recall. Apparently, it's really limiting how many are available to rent.
Oh, okay.
A good chunk of the fleet is just off the road, can't be rented out, so it creates this real squeeze if you need a larger vehicle.
And you really see it in the numbers for this week, August 4th. The cheapest, basic car at Kahului Airport, OGG, just $233 for the whole week.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah. But then the cheapest minivan, get this, $5,507 for the week.
Wow. That's steep.
It's like if you've got a family, a couple of kids, maybe grandma's tagging along, you're paying almost private jet money for a minivan.
Yeah, it feels that way. But what's also interesting is that even those super expensive minivans and 7-seaters, they're actually lower than they were last week.
Oh, okay. So some movement at least.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Suggests maybe availability is slowly improving. And looking ahead, the general expectation is that prices for most types of cars will probably dip even lower through August and into early September.
Okay, let's zoom in on those weekly changes then, because that's where you see the immediate difference, right, in your wallet.
Exactly.
So looking at this week, August 4th, compared to just the week before, some big shifts. Economy cars down a solid 16% if you book with 6T. Now $233.
Nice drop.
Yeah. Mid-size cars, they're down to about 7% at Thrifty, so $299. Even Jeeps are seeing a bit of relief, down 9% from Payless, puts them at $441.
In convertibles, they're kind of fascinating. They didn't change price, still $354 from Payless.
Okay.
But the source describes that price as almost fire sale level.
Fire sale. Wow, so like a bottom dollar for a convertible.
Pretty much, yeah. An incredibly good deal if you're looking for that kind of car. It's quite a description.
It really is. And then SUV's a huge drop, like jaw-dropping, down 59%.
59.
Yeah, 59%, down to $349 from 60. I mean, think about that. If you wanted an SUV last week versus this week, that's potentially hundreds saved.
That's significant. Enough for a fancy dinner or two.
Or a boat trip. And the 7-seat SUVs, they also dropped quite a bit, nearly half off, 48%, down to $647 from budget.
Still pricey,
Rough.
but a big improvement.
Definitely. But then there's the minivan again, still $5,577, even though that's actually down 28% from Payless compared to last week.
Right. It's still way up there.
Yeah.
Which brings up a really important point. How do these current prices stack up against, the usual long-term average?
Good question. Are these actual deals or just less expensive than last week?
Exactly. We need context.
Yeah.
The best way is to compare them to the median price over the last 52 weeks.
That makes sense. That gives you the true value picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure.
A drop feels better if it's actually below the typical price.
Precisely.
So looking at those smaller cars economy, mid-size SUVs, what are we seeing compared to their prices over the last year?
Well, for those smaller vehicles, it's discounts pretty much across the board. Economy cars are running about 15% below their median.
Okay.
Midsize, 12% off. Jeeps are a good deal too, 22% off their median. And standard SUVs are 12% under.
So these really are reflecting those shoulder season levels you mentioned earlier.
They absolutely are.
Right.
But then you look at the larger vehicles, and it's sticker shock all over again.
Right. The ones affected by the recall.
Exactly. The 7-seat SUVs, they're actually costing 13% more than their 52-week median price. A premium.
Okay, so still above average despite the recent drop.
Yep. And minivans, well, they're at a staggering 115% premium.
Whoa, 115%.
More than double their median price.
Yeah.
Which, really highlights just how much that recall is still messing with availability and jacking up the price.
Wow. Okay, so given all that, the million-dollar question for anyone planning book now or wait. What's the forecast looking like for advance reservations, say, for August?
Let's look at economy or compact cars, just as an example. A 1-week rental from OGG.
Okay.
For the week starting August 4th, the advance price showing now is $233.
Right. Same as the current last-minute price.
Yeah. Then August 11th and 18th, it drops a bit to $216. August 25th, slightly up to $218.
Yeah.
So yeah, short term, it looks like prices are falling towards those low season levels.
Okay, that seems promising.
Then you hit September 1st, which is Labor Day weekend.
Ah, the holiday bump.
Right. The advance price for that week jumps to $289. And the week after, September 8th, it's $265. Now, this is where it gets really interesting.
How so?
The source points out this pattern they call the fizzle-out phenomenon for holidays.
Fizzle out.
Yeah. The advance prices, like that $289 for Labor Day, they tend to firm up as the holiday gets closer. But what happened for Memorial Day and Independence Day this year was that those high advance prices just fizzled.
Meaning
the actual prices closer to the holiday ended up being lower than what people booked in advance.
Huh. So booking way ahead for the holiday might actually cost you more. That feels backward.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the advice from the source is pretty clear. Smart travelers will wait until later to book.
So for someone maybe a bit nervous about waiting, is there a risk? Or does the data really back this up?
The data strongly suggests waiting is the smarter play, at least based on recent history. It's almost like the rental companies put out those high FILA prices.
Testing the waters.
Exactly. And if the demand isn't there, they have to drop them closer to the date to get the cars rented. So if you wait, you potentially benefit from that.
Okay. Is there older data to support this too?
Yep. Historical data from 2013 to 2018 showed basically no Labor Day price bump. Prices usually fell through August and just stayed low through September. And that same pattern happened just last year, summer and fall 2024.
So does waiting actually pay off right now? Like for this week?
Well, let's look at the rental starting August 4th again. If you booked that at the airport 5 weeks ago, you would have paid around $320 for the week.
Okay.
Today, that same rental is $233. So that's an $87 drop just by waiting.
Wow.
And off-airport rentals, even better. 5 weeks ago, it was $260. Today, it's $165. That's a $95 saving.
So yeah, absolutely. For this specific week, waiting definitely resulted in lower prices than booking 5 weeks out. That's really useful intel for planning.
Definitely. And this kind of leads into the whole location question, too. Airport versus off-airport.
Right. The old wisdom was always that off-airport is cheaper, isn't it? Because you avoid some taxes, fees.
And that airport convenience premium, yeah, that was the historical norm.
But that's been weird lately too, right?
Totally messed up. In recent months, off-airport has often actually been more expensive.
Why is that?
The source speculates it's likely fallout from the Lahaina wildfires back in August 2023. Maybe those off-airport places had to cut back inventory, scale down operations.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. So what's the picture this week, August 4th?
Well, this week, off-airport is actually cheaper, again, for the basics. Economy, compact, mid-size, standard SUVs, and even minivans.
Okay, so maybe starting to normalize.
Possibly. But the airport is still cheaper for Jeeps. And you just can't get convertibles or 7-seat SUVs off airport at all right now.
So it's still a bit mixed.
It's very mixed. And the source says it's basically unknown when or even if that old predictable pattern of off-airport always being cheaper will come back consistently.
Okay. Now, this next finding really caught my eye. We always hear Maui is pricey, right? Expensive island.
That's the reputation for sure.
But check this out. A survey from just August 3rd, looking at the cheapest one-week rental costs across all the main Hawaiian airports.
Okay, let's hear it.
Kauai's Lihue Airport, LAH, most expensive, $475. Ouch. That's up 44%.
Wow.
Kona on the Big Island, KOA, that's $407.70. Honolulu, H&L, $393. Hilo, ITO, down at $270.
All right, so quite a range. Where's Maui?
Maui Kahului Airport, OGG, just $187.
Yep, the cheapest by a long shot,
It
actually.
completely flips the script, Maui being the cheapest rental car island.
I know, and it's not just a one-off. Our source says Maui has actually had the lowest price for 15 out of the last 18 weeks.
15 out of 18.
Yeah, and it was the second lowest the other 3 weeks. So this isn't a fluke. It's a consistent trend right now. That is genuinely surprising.
Yeah.
Definitely not what most people would expect.
Right. It's important to understand, though, the kind of the rigor behind this deep dive. This isn't just random guesswork.
No, the data collection is pretty intense. They track 7 different car types from 10 different companies at OGG every single week. They've been doing that since July 2024.
And even longer for economy cars, right?
Right.
Back to July 2023.
Exactly. Plus, they did a big 5-year study before that from 2013 to 2018. So there's a lot of solid data behind these observations.
Yeah, that depth really adds weight to the findings. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What are the key things we've learned about navigating Maui car rentals right now?
Well, first, prices for most cars are dropping into that shoulder season range, which is good news. But yeah, minivans and 7-seaters are still really expensive because of that recall premium.
Right. And booking strategy.
It seems patience might be a virtue. Those high advance prices, especially for holidays like Labor Day, have tended to fizzle out recently.
Meaning, waiting until closer to the date, even last minute, has often resulted in lower prices than booking way ahead.
Exactly. We saw proof of that this week with savings of nearly $100 compared to booking 5 weeks ago.
Okay. And the location thing, airport versus off-airport.
Still a bit unpredictable. The old rule isn't holding true consistently. Off-airport was cheaper for many categories this week, but not all. And availability was limited for some, so you got to check both.
Right. And maybe the biggest surprise.
Maui.
Yeah.
Currently the most affordable Hawaiian island for car rentals. Who knew? It's been the cheapest or second cheapest for months now.
Completely counterintuitive, but that's what the data shows. Absolutely. Okay, so here's something to think about for you, our listener. If you're planning that Maui trip, knowing all this, the fluctuating market, that fizzle-out thing with advanced prices, the potential savings from waiting, what does that really tell you about maybe the power of patience and timing when you're planning travel?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And maybe think about how that idea might apply beyond just car rentals. You know, other parts of your life where there are market dynamics at play. Something to chew on. Until next time, keep diving deep.